Back, you're watching South Africa Tonight on eNCA. Take you back to our top story tonight and continue to get your reaction to that confirmation today coming from the Eastern Cape that the province is officially experiencing a second wave of COVID-19. I'm joined by the head of the Centre of HIV and STIs at the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. Forgive me, I just cannot seem to get the words out tonight, Adrian Puren. Great to have you on. So, first things first, so confirmation then from the Eastern Cape government that they are officially dealing with a second wave. What becomes the most urgent intervention?
Well, the urgent interventions are probably multiple, I think, because you triangulate lots of data. You triangulate the numbers of cases that you're seeing. You want to really understand where are these cases from, what scenarios they are from, and intervene in those particular scenarios in order really to try and prevent further transmission. Then you have to look at your hospitalizations, and also obviously the outcome of that is death. So you really want to intervene at multiple levels in order to try and really curtail the transmissions that are currently being observed. So I think it's really looking, and again, that goes with regard to the actual identification of cases, obviously the tracing and the tracking, in order that either people are either isolated if they are infected or quarantined if they are not infected but need to be observed in terms of the development of infections. But as you know, it's really complex in the sense that the people that we're seeing that are presenting with infections are only a proportion of that. So we know that rates of non-symptomatic infections are also really critical and really contribute as well. So we really need to understand, are there super spreader events that are happening in the communities, and how do we manage those? How do we reduce the numbers and contacts of people in order to try and prevent further transmission? So that's really going to be important.
And Adrian, the Eastern Cape, even during the visit by Minister Zwelithini last week, kept saying that the problem areas at this point are the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, along with the Sarah Baartman district. Do they seal just those two off as far as lockdowns go to try and control this, or is it too late?
It's not a matter of too late. I think it's a matter of whether you can really lock down, or how do you approach it? Because again, trying to have specific areas of isolation may not always be feasible, because people are moving across that. And as you know, with the upcoming December holidays, even more people may either be coming in or out of those particular areas, and it's really going to be really difficult. I think it's really trying to understand what are the locales for these particular infections, in order for us to say, well, if it is these types of settings, how do we manage those particular settings in order for people to try and adhere to the requirements? As you know, we only have the non-pharmaceutical interventions. Again, it's the physical distancing that's going to be really critical. It's the wearing of masks, the hygiene, the ventilation. These are all the key aspects, again. So what is happening in those particular settings for transmission to occur? So I think lockdown, even the WHO, in fact, as you noted recently, is not in favor of lockdowns. I know that in Europe and the UK, for example, are these levels of control and so-called lockdowns, but it's really around restraining contact, in other words, as far as is possible. So keeping people in safe bubbles and away from each other in order to prevent transmission.
Quick final one then, Adrian. So not a lockdown of the entire province or particular problematic districts, right? But the problem areas in the Eastern Cape, as has been for the past few months, is still people gathering for church, funeral services as well, and now the issue with nightclubs, bars, and the rest of it. Should those be shut down, or the numbers at least reduced of people who can gather?
I think it's really trying to work on the numbers. That's the first step, I think. The step about really closing down should be the final decision. But my view is that we really need to see, how do we control the numbers? And that's, I think, has been the major problem from the very outset in communities, is really how to communicate within those communities to really say, well, this is what we really need to do in order that we don't have the fatalities that we're continuously seeing. We're not overwhelming our hospital systems again. This is what we really need to try and prevent. So how do we achieve that, given that this is all that we have in our ability to prevent further transmissions? It's the communication at that community level. So, as you know, the national government and provincial governments are really trying to make sure that the responses are at that district or sub-district level to really try and engage with communities to prevent further transmission.
Adrian Puren with the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. I got through it.